Hi everyone! Hello! Welcome back to the Talkaholics podcast. This is Iman.
And this is Razia.
So today we're actually doing an episode on a show that was recently released on Netflix. Do you remember the date exactly of when it was released?
It would have been 2 days ago, so 29th.
Okay, so May 29th, Space Force was released on Netflix, starring none other than
Steve Carell, baby!
yeah. So obviously, I remember Roger was like, "Come on, there's a show coming out with Steve Carell. Like
Yep.
he created it, right? He was part of the team that created the show
Yep.
itself.
Yep.
So he created it. He's also the lead in the show. So she's like, we have to watch it, binge all 10 episodes when it comes out, and we're doing an episode. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So we literally binged. I think I finished it in like a day or a day and a half, something
Yeah.
like that.
I was a day and a half, but it also just made sense because you just finished watching The Office, and I was like, okay, she totally knows, like,
I'm on my third round right now.
unreal, unreal. I was like, you know exactly what the appeal is for Steve Carell, and like a lot of the faces in this show in particular. Like Space Force has so many heavy hitters in terms of comedians and people in other
Yeah.
really really good TV shows. So I was like, okay, like yeah, we got to make a review, we got to post it up, got to be the first ones on it.
Yeah. So I guess before we go into like what other people are saying,
Yep.
let's talk about what we are saying. So how did you like? How did you like the show?
Yeah, so I'll keep it spoiler free just for those listening. Like this first half will definitely be just our general thoughts. We won't go into details in case you haven't seen it yet, since it's
Yeah.
relatively new. It is. I thought it was good. Like I think going into it, especially in the first episode, I was like, I know I have high expectations. I know I'm gonna be hypercritical of this. Again, given that like so many people in this are like people who I love from other shows, like um, this show is a great combination of like so much good talent from people from Silicon Valley, people from Parks and Rec, people from Veep, and I feel like they took all those different tones and like the way those shows are written and put into one show, and it's like
Yeah.
it's really interesting that the mishmash of like it's kind of political, it's kind of nerdy scientific, it's kind of still like The Office in terms of like there being a big cast and everybody has their own relationship with one another. Um, I will say like the first two episodes I was like, okay, this is like easygoing, this is not super fast paced, and then as soon as like kind of
Yeah.
conflict arose, I was like, okay, like now I'm kind of sold. Like, and especially like I have some of my favorite comedians in that, like Ben Schwartz and stuff, who I've like mentioned to you like every other week, like especially since quarantine. I was like, you watch him in this, watch him in that, and like him and like the guy from, I think he's Dr. Chan in the show, who's from Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Like a few people who I'm like, I want to see more of them. I want to see more of them. And then later in the show, like you kind of they get their own time and their own spotlight. So as soon as that started happening, I was
Mm.
like, okay, cool. Like it, the more like it kind of
Yeah.
like played with my expectations of what I think the show was, the better it got. But I will say, like, I think this is a show much like The Office that, like, yes, the first season is good, but like it has to do with the journey of like you have to kind of enjoy everything. So I'm kind of like
Mhm.
hoping that they go for a second season. And I think if you're considering
Yeah.
to watch it in quarantine, it's a really really good light show. Like it doesn't really play on too many sad tones, or like it's a very happy go lucky show. So I really
Yeah.
recommend it. That's me.
Yeah, definitely. Like I genuinely enjoyed it. And it surprises me. Like I hadn't looked up anything about the show before watching it, and even after watching it, I didn't really do any research because I wanted to come into this like just with my own opinion, and
Yeah.
then we could like look at what other people are saying. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was like it's not a show that needs to be taken too seriously.
Mm-mm.
It's very like just light comedy. Not that they don't make certain commentary on like current political issues and stuff like that,
Absolutely.
which
Yeah.
they do,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed that because it's like these little pokes and like jabs at like the current government in the states and stuff like
A
that, which
hundred
is always
percent.
funny. I love how much they bring up the president and like the stupid things
POTUS.
that he
Yeah.
does.
Yep.
really funny. But yeah, generally it was really funny. I think the characters are like each character is interesting. Um, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give anything away. But
Yeah.
like Steve Carell's character, Mark Naird,
Yeah.
he's is such an interesting character because sometimes you don't really like him, and then there's times where like, oh, you're funny, and there's sometimes where he's like really really dumb, and you're like,
Yeah.
why are you like this?
Yeah.
Like, how are you a general and you are this dumb? But, but I think that like his character as a whole really fits
Mm.
well with like the whole idea of the show, and it's interesting because like because it's such a lighthearted comedy, people may like not take it too seriously, but like when I see things like this where they make lighthearted comedy about like real life situations.
Yeah.
So like for example, this is about Space Force. This is about like a faction of the U.S. like government or whatever, right? It's an army base basically for space or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like and then you see the people who are running the show
Mm-hmm.
and how sometimes they can be really stupid and how they just like make decisions off the fly of like without any factual reasoning or anything like that. And it's like that is as a whole is like a big commentary of what is going on in the United States right now. So I enjoy it because it's funny, but also it's very true.
Yeah.
In a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I fully get it. And I think that's where in my head I was making connections to other shows. It's definitely pulling inspiration from, and like I liked that whole first scene when they introduced every one of those like big head honchos, and they had going like around the circuit basically calling shots and making fun of each like faction, saying like Navy Force is dumb, Coastal like Force, who the hell cares, but like you're always last in line, like how they always throw that guy under the bus. I love that. And like they like
for the Air Force where they're like oh, if there's a problem just drop a bomb.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, have you considered bombs? Anybody? It's just like
small bombs, big bombs,
and just that Jane Lynch's character, like she's just like don't even bother with me. She's like so like don't even talk to her. She probably has like two to three lines the entire season, but you're just like she's so funny somehow.
Yeah, honestly. I remember this scene. This is not really a spoiler, guys, because it really has nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah.
But there's like they sometimes have like a round table, as Razia said, with like all the leaders from each faction or base or whatever you want to call it. And I don't remember which one she's in charge of. Which one is she in charge
She's
of?
Navy, I think. I think she's the C one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember. I don't know how it came up, but the tampons came up in the conversation, and then Mark was like said something about tampons, and he looked at her and she's like, she would know, and she was like, don't ever bring up my gender.
Yeah. You're just like she's a lot of good one-liners that like.
Okay. Yeah, so definitely like I like because even like the small characters that you don't really see a lot of, they each have their like little quirks and like little one-liners that are really funny. Who's your favorite character?
Ooh, okay. Well, I kind of gave it away. I kind of said that Ben Schwartz is like his marketing strategy stuff is like so stupid. It's just any little like you'll see he's so funny in the show, and I love like he's like this heightened version of himself because his comedy's not always like that, but he's just very snappy and very much like let's get on it. This is such an opportunity, guys. hashtag whatever, and he'll be like he's just like always explaining millennial stuff to other people. But he also sounds really cringy doing it, so it's like. Yeah, it's like I love that how he in every other scene will be like, even if he's like not in front of the camera directly, you'll see him on his phone talking about it. You'll see him on his phone taking pictures. You'll see him like, do you know what I'm saying? Like looking around, looking at other people's reactions.
Yeah, like his mannerism.
Yeah, so I kind of love that. He's like that buzz of energy. So I like him a lot. I like Angela Ali is like pretty dope. Like just like how they use her in that show to kind of almost be like.
Like we don't want to give anything away, but you know,
yeah,
it's so
sorry.
interesting that you bring up her character because her character in the show, like I really like what she stands for in the show, which again we don't want to give anything away.
No,
but I really like what she stands for in the show. But sometimes I swear to you, like she's sometimes my favorite character and sometimes my least favorite character.
Really?
And I don't know why, but sometimes like her scenes seem a little forced, and I don't know why that is. Like, did you not get that her and Mark's daughter, both of them, for some reason, especially that episode where they were together,
Yeah.
like the whole day. I don't know what it was, but it felt like the comedy was forced. It felt like I just felt like cringing through the entire
Really?
thing. I don't know why. I'm like, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's like because I don't think they're bad actresses, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was like little jokes they made, or like sometimes the pauses between things would be too long, and I'm like, what? I don't get
Right.
it. But maybe it's just me. I really don't know.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. That those scenes in particular, I think we're trying to like, because the weird thing is, okay, I think probably what was weird about that whole episode when they were featured is that they're not necessarily closer after that episode. They're not friends.
Yeah.
They don't keep in touch with each other. Um, I think that episode was just a weird way of like individually for the audience to get to know either of them better. Like we know she has problems with her, like the daughter, Erin, I think her name is Erin. Yeah, her issues with her own family, and then Angela's like ambitions and whatever, and like how they kind of judge each other. The problem is like every other episode when two characters are particularly put together, they end up getting closer some way, right? So it's strange for me that like by the end of it, and even like not to give spoilers, but they're not significant together. So yeah, I thought I kind of get what you're saying. That's probably part of it. But another character I wanted to mention too, in terms of favorites, was Mallory. I find him just so interesting.
Yeah.
And just like his,
I love him.
it's okay. First of all, when they announced that he was gonna be like John Malkovich was gonna be in the show, I don't think I can name another TV show he's been in. He's like primarily a movie actor, so I was like, whoa. First of all, and second of all, he's like pretty like the way he talks in that show is so methodical and like who he is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's so slow.
Yeah. Even when he's cussing, I'm like, there's that one. Okay, no spoilers, but like, just also I'm gonna say out of context. But that one scene where he's like really angry in his office, and he's like basically thinking to himself like, this is for this one guy he meets, and he's like, I'm gonna fuck you up, and he like can't even. He doesn't even sound. He just sounds a little stupid saying, because like he's such a patient like otherwise gentle person, and I like his dynamic with I was gonna say Michael Scott's character, Mark Naird's character. It's a nice contrast because like Mark is so let's do it, let's make decisions, let's go get it, let's be impulsive, and then he's very much like no, I'm the scientist, like trust me kind of person. I love them together actually.
Yeah, I like how their relationship develops throughout the season. It's nice.
Yeah, and I think he's like the one you're supposed to kind of look at and go like, oh, like he's trying, kind of, one of those characters.
Yeah, oh man. Like each and everybody's like little character development throughout the entire season is so nice to see.
Yeah.
I really like Dr. Chan.
Yeah. Gotta love him.
And he's so funny.
I honestly, I'm a little biased because like you should watch Silicon Valley because I think his character in that is so. His character in that though is like is so different, so far different from what he plays in this, and he's just supposed to be the very, very, very annoying, very like in your face character, but he's arguably one of the funniest people on that show, and so to see him like have his own like he has a personality in the show that isn't just about annoying other people that I love, and there's so many other things I want to talk about with his character in particular, but just like I'm like conscious of spoilers. But overall,
we'll definitely do like the later half of this episode. We'll be like spoiler alert, and then we'll talk about details.
Yeah, some sort of graphic will pop up. Yeah, I don't know. I think you should watch it definitely if you're a fan of any one of these people who are in the show. If you are a fan of any of like the one of TV shows that we've mentioned that are kind of pulling from like inspiration from other famous shows. But also because it's just like I don't know that I can point to another show that's like this in terms of like what it's trying to do in terms of talk about politics, but also science, but also like it's still about someone's personal life. So like I think it's a good combination of a lot of genres that haven't been one thing before. And it's 10 episodes, like 30 minutes each. Easy binge.
Exactly. Easily, 30 minutes, like, they go by so quick. You can binge it literally in one day if you have time, which a lot of people do. But it's just, I definitely would recommend it to people. I really enjoyed watching it, and I don't think that it's like, it's something that you don't really need to focus too hard on. Like, you could just watch it and enjoy it. And so that's why, surprisingly, like, I Googled it right before we started recording, like, to see what the reviews are and stuff like that, and it has a really low rating.
Yeah.
I'm very shocked. Like, Rotten Tomatoes, it's 43%.
Yep.
And on IMDb, it's 6.9 out of 10. But, like, that's crazy to me because, like, on their audience rating summary, it gets a 4.1 out of 5. So, and I was just reading through, like, just random people's comments and stuff like that. And a lot of people are also confused as to why it's rated so low, because a lot of people really did enjoy it, like the light comedy of it.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of it is that because it's Steve Carell, and like Steve Carell in a comedy automatically gets like compared to The Office. And like, you can't compare it to The Office.
No.
The Office is its whole other thing. Like, nothing will beat that.
Yeah.
That is never gonna be beat. So
100%.
like, it's in comparison, obviously it's not gonna be the same.
Yeah. And it's definitely,
it's a really good show.
Yeah, it's definitely an expectation thing. And also because it's not like Steve Carell's character, and this is like, he's playing someone who's like as outrageous as Michael Scott was, or even like his other characters. Like, if you think of like a Steve Carell in like The Anchorman, he's not like that level of kooky. He's just kind of playing a relatively regular guy, but he's like in a predicament that's like kind of crazy. So I think I think that's part of it. Like, if people don't have the palate to watch something that's like borderline kind of also about smart sciencey things, that it's like, oh, what is this about? This is nerdy. This is boring.
I think people write it off really easily just because it's about space.
Yeah, or it's like trying to be sci-fi or something or whatever. It's I don't know. So that's basically what I saw too when I was saying that I'd seen things pop up on socials. Like, I'd seen, I think it was Mashable that was saying something like, it was a pretty harsh headline, like definitely clickbaity, but they were like, yeah, maybe wait until season 2. And I was just like, yikes, okay. Like, so rude. But like, if you were to like look over the clickbaity part of that title, I get what they're trying to say is that like, this first season definitely does a lot of setting up and making connections between different, like, this cast alone is huge. Like, there's so many people involved. Within the first episode of them just naming off every single person, you're just like, oh, holy moly, like, just the amount of people who are in it. So it's trying to do a lot in one season and trying to level set. So that's kind of what it's saying if you get past like the tea it's trying to spill there. But yeah, it's a first season and it's 10 episodes. That's what's gonna happen. And it's not like throughout it's not funny. Like, it's not throughout it that it's not trying to challenge your expectations of like where the show's gonna go by the end of this, like, the season. So I think that's a little bit unfair, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you like, while you're watching it, obviously there's so many things, and like, I'm sure we'll talk about this in the spoiler part of our episode.
Yeah.
But there's so many things where it's like, whoa, where did that come from, or like, what's happening here, and it doesn't get answered in that season at all.
No.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's a lot actually. It leaves open.
Yeah, there's a lot that doesn't get answered, and on top of that, there's like a whole cliffhanger at the end, or it's like, you literally will not know what happens until they come out with another season.
Yeah.
So I can see like why people will be frustrated with that, because there's so many questions, not any answers.
Yeah.
But like, at the same time, it's like, that's how they keep you, that's how they keep you excited. That's how they keep you wanting more.
Yeah.
So that they can get more seasons.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think, like, just before we get into the spoiler part, my last point would just be like that. Okay, I can see that like that the pace is not necessarily, like, nowadays, especially with mini series that are also sometimes 10 episodes each, that the pace can sometimes be crazy fast. Like I feel like new TV shows nowadays are like, they'll have a whole TV show's worth of content within one episode. So I kind of get like that maybe it's not running as fast as people would have imagined, but like at the same time, I just think it's like, it's still taking the pace of The Office, of like, it's still giving you just a look and a sight into, you know, what an everyday is inside of like this working space, and so it's not gonna like fly through days like other TV shows. And another thing that we haven't mentioned, but like the production of this like a show, I was like, this is like Marvel Avengers level. Like, this is what the hell? Like, so many sets, so many like beautifully structured like spaces that I was like, whoa, my god, how much money was put into this thing?
Definitely, because like obviously this is about Space Force, so you see a lot of space-like things, as in like different like equipment and like going to the moon or whatever. So it's like there's so many like how it could have easily looked really bad.
Yeah.
It could have easily looked really fake or like really cheap, and I'm really glad that it doesn't.
No, yeah, this would have been a bad show. I can tell you that right now. If they tried to do a space show that had no special effects or whatever, no, it's a great looking show for sure.
Anyways, let's move on to the spoiler part of this, because this is where we can get really into it. So, yes, if you have not seen the show and you don't like listening to spoilers, spoiler alert, from now on we will be going into detail, not holding anything back.
Yeah.
So if you want to go watch it first, stop here and come back. Or if you don't want to listen to spoilers, continue to listen. That's up to you. Yeah, bye.
Okay.
First things first, Razia. Why is his wife in prison?
Okay, yeah. First of all, can I just say, I think that happens in the first freaking episode. That they go, like, they say, like, the whatever, 1 year later or whatever, and she's in her yellow or orange jumpsuit, and I was like, that is the one plot twist I would have never seen coming. I didn't think that that's what they were gonna do with Phoebe's character. I was like, what? Like,
Phoebe.
Yeah. I don't know her real name, Liza something. But
Lisa something, right?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. But I was just like, whoa, like, I could understand, like, I knew that this was gonna complicate the family dynamic, but not to the point where, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it was almost funny. I kind of like laughed when he sat down and she was behind a glass, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? But
yeah, I was like, and then they don't tell us.
And they don't even give you a little bit.
They hint at a little, like, she did something really, really bad. She's gonna be in there for the next 30 to 40 years, like, these things, but they never tell us what she actually did, and I just want to know.
Yeah. And the fact that kind of everybody knows, too, like, this definitely was, like, every single person knows that she's a criminal and behind bars for that long. Yeah. And it's, like, there have been no words that have hinted towards it's manslaughter or it's whatever. Like, it's just nothing.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was, like, the greatest first twist in the first episode, like, that I've seen a show do in a long time. Like, I thought that was a good thing to kind of keep people going and going, like, hey, I'm just gonna literally stay along just to hear how this happened, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I was, like, hoping they would answer it throughout the season, and, like, literally we get to the last episode, and I'm like, they're really not gonna tell us.
They're not gonna tell us.
They're really not gonna tell us.
Yeah, and I thought a good, one of the funnier things that came out of that, too, with her being Jill, is all the conjugal visits. And that's so funny.
The conjugal visits.
How cringy, like, awkward.
I cringed. I could not watch that scene. I could not. I was like, no.
Oh my god, like, not even just the scene itself, but him, like, having to explain it to his daughter. And I'm just like, oh my god, why are you letting her in the helicopter? Just say something. Like,
say no.
I was like, this is just cringy. Like, they literally sit into that cringe for, like, multiple episodes of, like, the 2 visits he does. And I'm like, oh. And it's, yeah. I kind of like that, though, that they play on it.
I felt so bad when she, like, was like, we should have an open marriage. And he was like, no.
Yeah, he was really fighting for it, which is sweet.
He ended up going along with it. And then he cried. I was like...
He was kind of sad, yeah. But you definitely knew when she offered it up. Like, I think she was, like, nice and patient and stuff about it. That whole scene was sweet at the end of the day. But I also knew it's because, like, you're already in a relationship with somebody else.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The first time she mentioned what's-her-face, the guard's name, I was like, oh, 100%. 100%. She's already doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's that scene plus the scene combined with him asking out that Keely or Kelly girl, forget her name.
Kelly, yeah.
Yeah, that I was like, oh, he's, like, trying, and he's, like, telling her up front, like before they even go on the date, like here are like the many facts about my life. And I was like, this is so. And they're like in the middle of like the hallway, and she's just like, "Can you stop talking? Can we just figure this out later?" Oh my god.
They're both so awkward, and like that's the thing about his character is that like he's like I think that because it's such like a comedic show, like you forget that he was this like really hardened army guy,
Mm-hmm.
like he has to follow things in a certain way and stuff. And then like that comes out through little things like this, where it's like he needs to make sure all the facts are on the table before like anything happens, or
Yeah.
like like he always has this sense of I need to do what's right or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was so funny and sad, but funny.
Yeah, and I kind of like how Kelly's like so easygoing about everything. Like
Yeah.
their first date, she was like just really welcoming about everything, and just like yeah, it's just a weird contrast because like I think what her character's like purpose is that since everybody is like on Naird's ass to like make decisions and do things, and they need his attention all the time, that she's like the opposite. She's just like whatever, I'm along for it. And no matter how complicated, like the fact that you're still in love with someone else and married and whatever, like that's kind of cool too. But the one relationship I do want to talk about, Iman, is that was what Dr. Jen calls BWAM, which I like cried laughing when he mentioned. I was like, what?
When I saw that, I was like, oh, we gonna talk about that? Okay.
And then
I didn't know there was an acronym for it, but okay.
And then like other things he says after that, what he was like talking about some statistic how it's like the rarest interracial marriage or whatever or couple, but it's like the most successful. I was like, of course he's done his research, and then when they started hanging out, him and Angela, that I was like, okay, yeah, this is what the setup was for.
Yeah, they're cute. I'm not gonna lie, they're cute.
Do you like them? I was curious. I was like, I don't know. Do you like Angela and him together? Like they're kind of nerdy. Like super nerdy.
Yeah, they're very nerdy and very awkward. That's the thing. Like again, her character, what comes to mind is like that scene where she was like, I need to learn about botany, and so she like marches up to him. Do you know things about plants? Literally, like that whole scene, I feel like was so forced. I was like cringing through it, because she kept on getting like frustrated and stuff, and like I don't know if that was like an acting choice.
That might have been an acting thing. Yeah.
But like it was so. But at the same time, like her whole character, like what she stands for, like in this whole show that's like mainly like let's be real, it's mainly about white people.
Yeah.
It's like nice the fact that like the first woman that's gonna be landing on the moon is also a black woman.
Yeah.
And like is a part of the United States Space Force. Like that, like little things like that are cool, and like the fact that one of like the lead scientists is like an Asian man, like and also like their scientists are pretty diverse also.
Yeah.
Like the people who make up the science team are from like all over the world, and that's something that was funny that they brought it up, because they were like, even though our science team is from the greatest minds of all over the world, it's going to be U.S. boots that's the soil, like this whole idea that U.S. takes from everybody but then claims them as their own.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole joke about like the first boots on the moon were actually made in China, like that kind of whole thing. But he's like, but it's the feet and the boots that matter. I was like, what the hell? It's like that. Yeah, points like that. I think it is.
I really like that that's what the choice they made for her character. I just really hope she doesn't fall into like this tokenism.
Yeah.
Thing like where she's just like it's just like the only one, and like they want to be like given a cookie for it or something.
Yeah. No, I feel you, and I think what they're trying to do to make up or kind of differentiate that or make sure that doesn't happen is like giving her that ultra like hyper nerdy personality to the point where like they've mentioned K-pop and they mentioned anime and like do you know what I'm saying? Like they're definitely pushing her to be like a nerdy black woman to kind of like make her different and make sure that like no, she's ambitious, she's like, do you know what I'm saying? She needs to be on top kind of thing. So I think they're doing a good job with making her relationship with Dr. Tan, because I think if it was her character alone, it would kind of be, do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no point for us to hear any of the stuff other than for them to be talking to each other and stuff and developing a relationship. So it makes sense, and I think she's like, I can see what you mean by like the botany thing. Yeah, it was kind of like a little forced, and I feel like she might just be a new actress to be honest. At the end of the day, I've never seen her in something else. before.
Yeah, me neither.
So, like, I think I've seen all the other actors in something. Like even Erin Nereid's, like the daughter, she is from Booksmart. So like the others have been in like other.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's like a really interesting character in that. Very different from this. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
those are great, and I like a lot of like even Dr. Mallory. Just to put it back to like also like other minorities, they're highlighting. They like how they reveal how he's well, you kind of see it coming, but how they reveal he's like, how he's
Yeah.
homosexual, but like how they do it through that song, how he's humiliated.
Oh my god.
Poor baby.
That was so sad.
Yeah, but it's like
I feel so bad. I was like, why are they still playing it? I was like, turn it off.
I was like, why are they all there? First of all, like why are they all like viewing this?
Like, why do you guys want to watch this? Like,
Oh, poor sweetie. Yeah, there's just
that
like
was sad. That was sad. Yeah.
a lot of his one-liners, and I feel like he has the best like serious lines in the show. Like that one of my favorite episodes, I would say, is like the one where the budgetary council is talking to them, and they're talking about the $10,000 orange. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
That whole episode was so interesting, and I think it's because I really like the budget council, like the women who are on that, and they're like they're just very interesting characters. But also like the time when Mallory stepped in and said what he needed to say, I was like, oh.
I wanted to ask because okay, so in that episode, like, I mean, you've seen the Congress people in a couple episodes, but like specifically in that episode, I was wondering what the Congresswoman that talked about the $10,000 orange. I was wondering if they were trying to personify the senator in New York. What's her name? Starts with an A. Hold on. You know what I'm talking about.
I think the face comes to mind, but like in what sense? Senator
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, Cortez. Okay. What?
And she's in New York. She's New York's she's representative for New York's 14th congressional district. And I was like, alright, because the person like, I don't know why, but I got this feeling that they were trying to like, they were trying to make a connection there, like, because she kept going like, my taxpayers are like, what are you gonna tell my taxpayers? And I don't know why, it just like made me think of her, because she's very like not in a bad way or anything. Like, she's obviously very well known for speaking out about a lot of issues and like talking about like the people she represents and stuff like that. And I was just like wondering, I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if it's just me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they were trying to
make that
fun. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
No, like take inspiration, because she's very much for the people.
Trying to, like,
yeah.
Her.
Yeah, I get that.
Also, I didn't like how they made her sound like kind of like dumb.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
she sounds like hyper young, like as in like, because she's, you know, she's talking like this a little bit, and she's like, you're telling me it said that. Yeah, she talks a little. Yeah. I don't know. I noticed that too, because even when she was like the first time we see her at that dinner table or whatever, like in the Space Force cafeteria looking space, like the way she was talking there too, I was like, oh, she's like definitely younger than the rest of them, but also like a little bit. Yeah, they kind of push. I don't know if that's again an acting decision that she's just chosen to make herself different from the rest, but it's, I don't know. I just like overall, it's like the discussions that were had, like in terms of like probably the best written episode for me was that one, just because like the back and forth with them, and like how they use that orange as like a talking point, and like how Mark went right into like, well, it's the quality of like taking care of the astronauts, and then Mallory's like 2 cents, and just like I love, it's just like courtroom drama, like just like that back and forth that was like nice to hear. There's like a couple episodes that was like, okay, like this is when the writing gets really almost political, but like just almost like movie monologue-ish that like is really nice.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it feels like very casual, very The Office. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also like nice that they're constantly highlighting like really how much money goes into this, and like on the flip side, like how a lot of the stuff fails. So, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I think that's nice for people to government holds and how much of it goes towards things that really are are not really beneficial.
Yeah. They kind of make it like really
current society.
Yeah, they make it like apparently clear too in the very last episode when Angela opens that locker in what should have been like what she found in there were guns, but they didn't have space for toothbrushes, kind of thing. And I think that that's definitely commentary. And like that whole scene where Mallory gets pissed off when he finds out about it, and he's like screaming across the hallway, which I love that whole scene. Yeah. There's a couple of moments like that in the show that like it is on purpose. That they, like, look at what our priorities are. It's always about like we obsess over. When the Chinese like rammed over their flag, it was all about being like the next best bully kind of thing, and like satisfying that need to be like, no, we're on top, we're American, whatever. That was really interesting, and definitely like a stance when he told them to disassemble the guns. Like there's a lot of political like things they're pointing at and going, no, you when you forget. Definitely. Oh, like no, he actually made a very like that episode. He made a very clear statement about when you forget about polio, that's when we don't think we need vaccines. And I was like, okay, that's on purpose that he's mentioning stuff like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that was a very direct like political statement. So it's really cool that they do that. There's a couple of characters we haven't mentioned though. They're like the guy that Aaron's with, the Russian guy, whose accent is so off for me. I think his accent is purposely really terrible.
Yuri or Bobby.
Yeah. I mean, like, his accent is like, from the first episode, I was like, is that German? Is he from, like, is he Swiss? Like, what is that? That's not Russian. Like, what is this?
Yeah, it's very thick, and, like, it's so funny just, like, whenever first of all, the fact that he just knows everything that's going on at all times without anybody telling him anything. And also, whenever he's talking to Aaron, and he's like that scene where he was like, your mate, like, he has like a little notebook, and he's like asking her information, but in a way that's supposed to sound like he's supposed to be interested in her, and it's just like, obviously, he just wants inside information for his country. It's just, yeah, his character is so funny.
It's so good. So good. And then I like how they contrast him with, like, the guy that we know he should definitely be with, the Alabama guy. He's like a little dumb.
Oh my god, he's really sweet, dumb. Like,
I love that his quirk is that he can't imagine shit.
They make him so dumb again.
I kind of love it when he's like, when he told him to like close his eyes and imagine stuff. He's like, I just can't. Like, just the poor guy. Can't imagine shit.
Or like when he's like, I've been reading. She's like, what have you been reading? He's like, the internet.
Yeah, he says some Illuminati shit.
Yeah. All these conspiracy theories about the Illuminati. The Illuminati.
Oh man, but he's like sweet. Like they definitely set him up to be like that guy that she should be with.
Yeah.
But I don't know how we're doing for time, but I want to talk about the last episode and kind of talk about predictions too.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, like the season finale, and let's wrap it up there because I think we have a little bit of time left. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah, well, how did you like? First of all, the whole like him getting arrested and everything in that last episode.
Yeah, I thought that was a good conclusion for him to make a decision, because like the whole show has been about him making decisions, hard decisions that like he's hearing different voices from, different pressure from all sorts of places. And he ends up making a decision that is, like, kind of palatable for everybody. But until the very last episode where he has to make a decision that pretty much no one likes other than Mallory. Like, he's doing it because he wants his best friend back because he quit. So, I like that happened, and I like that it almost somehow puts his family back in the same spot, right? Because now he's just as much of a criminal as his wife is, who has now since escaped with her lover, which is really awkward.
Yeah, that was so weird.
Oh, when they got in the helicopter, I was like, yikes! Like, oh man.
First of all, the daughter, oh my god, she really annoyed me. I was like, who do you think you are? Just because you find out that your mom and dad are gonna have an open marriage, you think you can go off with these random people and see the desert? Like, who thinks like that?
It kind of surprised me too, like.
Yeah,
just on Aaron, just really quickly, just a background. It kind of surprised me too, the scene where she's like got mad at her dad for seeing somebody else, and like while he's nicely talking to her about it, and she's like, no, what are you doing? Stop. But I was like, that's interesting. That's an interesting like thing. And I guess they're trying to play her to be like her reality is shattering a little bit, right? Like in that she's an only child too.
Yeah.
She only has so many people to rely on.
Yeah, and that's true. I feel like, she's just supposed to be like that bratty teenager who doesn't really know what's going on, but or like thinks the world revolves around her.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me is like, come season 2, in terms of predictions, like how are they gonna loop him back into the Space Force and for him to still work with everybody as he has if he's on the run now, more or less, right?
Yeah, because remember, like, at the end of the episode, they called him, and they were like, hey, like, things are a little crazy over here. We know that you escaped, but, like, if you can come back, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work. It's gonna be interesting, because it's like, he went against orders, which apparently is treason.
Yeah. I mean, they probably come up with something, like, really quick and, like, almost bullshit their way back for him to come back, because if we think about, like, even the situation, that the astronauts are left in with their their camp completely, like, destroyed.
Yeah.
That, like, there's no other person, unless, like, the Air Force guy decides to take lead again and makes decisions about what they should be doing. Like, I feel like something about Angela, like, since she's the captain, reaching back to Mark, whoever he is, since he still has a helicopter and whatever, that they'll make a connection, maybe, like, off Space Force and, like, just independently to make stuff happen.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. Because, like, he's also, like, what is he gonna do with his wife?
Yeah.
He's now on the run with her guard. Like,
yeah. It's so strange.
Louise.
It's such a strange, like, dynamic that it's like, it was just weird. It was just weird. The second she popped in, I was like, no, okay. That's chill.
I don't know. I don't know when they're gonna have like, if they do a second season, when it's gonna happen, because, like, obviously now there's a whole pandemic, so they can't really film anything.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's gonna be long from now, and then I'm gonna forget what happened.
I know.
And then I'm gonna have to, like,
especially with the production level, it will take maybe at least a year for them to come up with something else.
Yeah.
It's interesting because what they did by the end of this last episode is, bless you. Bless you. But
it's just my basement below cold.
Yeah, don't worry. But just, like, it's just gonna be interesting to see how they wrap up things and make things quote unquote back to normal by the first episode of the second season, because it's not just that Mark's away from Space Force, but also, like, the one relationship that's developing is between Dr. Chan and Angela. They're not together and don't have, like, necessarily connection with each other like they did before. And same thing with Mark and his...
And also Mark and Kelly.
Yeah, exactly. Mark and his new girl. And then, like, I guess Aaron and, like, the Alabama guy, which they kind of showed that they were interested in each other, but it's not really gone anywhere. But so it's interesting to see how they have somehow bring all of those people back. But it's one of those things that's, like, I don't know enough about the show to make, like, clear predictions, because, like, the rules of this world kind of don't exist yet to basically, like, fully say, okay, this is how they're gonna make it happen. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, there's a lot of questions, not enough answers that happen throughout the season, so we just gotta wait and see, but, like, I mean, as we mentioned before, we think that you guys should definitely give it a watch, and let us know what you guys think, because we love to hear other opinions, definitely. But our consensus is that was pretty good.
Yeah. And if there's anything else that we should be watching, too, that's on Netflix or coming out that we aren't aware of, let us know. I think this is fun for us to, like, watch something at the same time and come to it and talk about it, because, like, unlike the Office episode where Iman had just watched it, and for me it was, like, literally years since I had, like, fully for me to just pull back my memory of, like, plot and, like, even, like, character names and whatever, like, it's nice that we did it at once and we know exactly what each other's talking about. But one last thing I wanted to mention, I was really surprised about the chimpanzee and dog episode, that I was like, I didn't think I was gonna see like
yeah.
a special effects chimp in space.
That was no, but it was really.
But it looked good. It looked great, but also it was like kind of like not like intense energy, but like you're just like, what the hell's gonna happen? Like the chimp is gone. He like let go of the drill. He's gone. The poor little baby.
He ate the dog.
He ate the dog. Now he's with the Chinese too. Yeah, like things like that like they didn't close the loop on some of those things that you're like, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know in yeah, let us know in the comments and wherever else we are on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, the regular Instagram, what you think of the show, because it's new, it's out there. We know you're watching it, definitely. Yeah, I guess that's it for this one. We'll probably come back to this in the second season, so watch out.
Yeah, definitely. Like a year from now, but yeah, we'll be here.
Eventually. Yeah.
Anyways, guys, we'll talk to you guys on the next one.
Bye.